Welcome, welcome to Satsang. Good to see everyone. If I can bring the lights up a bit for you. There you are. Okay. Hello everyone in Facebook land. Stacy, Myra, Irma. Thanks for being here. So is there anything that anybody wants to talk about tonight? I know the answer to that is yes. The question is, will you? You know, we have a smaller group because of the weather. And, you know, that's always a good time, you know, to perhaps have the format be a little different. You know, it really is a lot easier for me when you're vocal and you ask questions. And this goes to the people in Facebook land too. You know, you are part of the conversation. And as I said in the mic check, I will always try to work your questions into, you know, satsang as long as they pertain to what we're talking about here. I don't want to go running off on a tangent. The thought for the week, the Monday morning meme, was a brief one, but a really interesting one. Where is it? Here, I had it teed up. Did you see it? Did you? The miracle happens when you remain in the moment. All problems are gone and you remain at peace. This is your natural state. And there was a picture when we were doing that photo shoot. Peacock came walking like right up to me as we were doing the shoot. It was such perfect timing. And, you know, it was just so apropos to life. You know, you're just sitting there doing nothing and it just walks up to you, you know. I think that a lot of times people really miss the profoundness of what I'm saying. Not that my words are so profound and you should listen to them. That's not what I mean. I mean that things like when you start to have these more these moments of real presence and clarity, and you start to experience some of the things that I'm trying to point you to, you know, you will realize, you know, that when I say, you know what I mean, the miracle happens when you remain in the moment. That I am handing you the keys to the kingdom. Some of these things sound so, what's the word I'm looking for? Trite or, no, not glib, like, cliche is the word I'm looking for. But this is not a cliche. Like, these are not cliches. I am never throwing cliches at you. I am throwing truth at you. None of this is cliche. None of it. Although it may sound that way sometimes. You know, the miracle happens when you're in the moment. What does that mean? Why is that true? How could that be true? I want to challenge you a little bit to think about what I'm saying and try to understand what I'm saying. Use your own experience to examine what I'm saying and see if it relates to your own experience.
Because when you're present and you're in the moment, everything else falls away. All there is now. And it's such a peaceful feeling.
And everything else is what?
In your mind, like, it's gone. It doesn't exist.
Well, if you're Salud. If you are present in the moment, right? Where are you not? In the past or future. Where all your problems are. Place that doesn't exist, by the way. And I'm dead serious about this. I am serious as a heart attack. That when past and future disappear, your problems disappear with them. Because that's where they exist. So the miracle happens when you come present into the moment. When you're only here and nowhere else. We get tortured by all the garbage that goes on in our mind. All the garbage that goes on in our mind is about past and future. All of it. 100% of it. What a waste. What a waste of this moment. Sure.
I know I have to have this. You said something, I don't remember when, it was a couple of weeks ago, maybe about...
We have to get you to point the mic at your... There you go. We won't have you mic trained yet.
Right, exactly. About identification with things and people with... and I don't want to make light of traumatic experiences because people, you hold a lot of that.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes... I know just my own experience, and you can collect things and hold on to them, and you allow them to become part of your identification with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
No one else would identify me with this thing, but I do in my mind.
Yeah.
I always keep, I remember that and I identify with that. But I think once you let go of all of that, I think that is also helps when you're in the moment and you let go of all those identifications and you just are who you are. You nobody.
And not even a who, really.
Right.
Because a who is just an idea
Right.
of who you are.
Right.
You just are.
But you don't have to be all of those things that
Well,
you've collected.
See, let's, what we're always trying to do here is just see life as clearly as we possibly can. Because when we're really consciously clear and we see it clearly, we can see how the mind creates suffering for us, and then we can consciously stop it. Because there's no way that we're going to consciously create suffering for ourselves. True?
Right.
Not going to do that consciously. That all happens unconsciously. So we got to bring consciousness to it and be aware of how that happens, right? Now, the interesting thing is you say you identify yourself as a certain person or whatever, and nobody else thinks you're that way but you. How weird is that?
No, I thought that was profound when you said that.
Yeah.
I've been thinking about that a lot.
And 100 people meet you, and they all have a different view of you. Which one are you? And you have a different view of you. And yours is usually the worst. I don't know why we hate ourselves so much. But we really, I don't know why. And perhaps it's just an addiction to negativity, or just a bad habit, or just we were born into a world of people that hated themselves and we learned to hate ourselves. Something that people don't talk about. People don't walk around saying, I hate myself. But when they come sit on my couch, they tell me. And I understand, because I was that way too. I include myself in all of this. There's a reason that I can see this so clearly, is because I worked my way out of it. I saw it clearly, and I was suffering, and I didn't want to suffer. Plain and simple. Now there's a Peaceful Mind Center. Because once you stop suffering, you want everybody else to stop suffering because you see what stupid things they're doing, and you're like, dude, like, what do you don't have to suffer this if you don't want to. But they can't get, like, it takes time to wear that away, because the difficulty is, like this is the one of the hardest things for me to describe to you, is that everything you think, and know about yourself in the world is just a story in your head. It's a conceptual idea in your mind. It's a story, just like a book. You have your own book, and you wrote it, and you're sitting there reading it. This is who I am, and this is how my life is, and this is how my world is. Everybody's world is not the same, right? Nobody's world is the same. So it's just like the world in your mind. Isn't that weird? When I say, at full moon is usually where I share, that there is no Tom, no Terriani. I did not come to this earth Tom, no Terriani. I was born, and someone pointed at me and said, "You're Tom, no Terriani." And I believed him. Did you see that? There's no Kim, there's no Antoinette. That's just a label that got stuck to you. It's not who you are. Isn't that weird? You're like your dogs, you know what I mean? You got your dogs, and then you named your dogs, and then they became that name. My cat, Willow, He's got like 10 different names. I call him all kinds of stuff. I'm challenging your identification with mind. Now, the difficulty that you're going to have with that is you're going to try and think yourself into right thinking. You know what I mean? You're going to be sitting there thinking, hey, I understand what he's saying. There's no concepts. I can understand that there's no concepts. That my world is all concepts, all imagination in my mind, right? But you're still thinking about it. You're dealing with mind on the level of mind. And so where it starts to get a little bit unusual is where I have to describe to you that which cannot be described in words. And I have to try to do that over and over again. But when you really get that is when you experience it for yourself. Because enlightenment, realization, the pure presence, and really, enlightened, am I enlightened? No, I don't like that word enlightened. There are too many things attached to enlightenment. But I am extraordinarily present. And you can feel that. If I wasn't present here right now, you'd all be like, well, what's going on with him? You would know it immediately because I'm usually so present with you. And that's all I am, is present. I'm not thinking about this moment. I'm just experiencing this moment without thinking about it, without labeling it, without judging it. Greg?
Okay. Yeah, this question is really for me, but I'm going to ask it in the third person. True though. My sister's husband was diagnosed recently with terminal illness. It's kind of a different form of ALS. So slowly he's going to deteriorate. So I've been trying to share some of your teachings and what we're doing here, staying present with her. And she goes, well, that doesn't help. Present's no good either. And so it's really sort of a two-part question. It's how do you stay present with what we kind of, everyone in this room would have a different example of other things outside that aren't going well. So as soon as I out of the present, I'm right back to where what the problem was, kind of thing. Or
well,
I think you follow the question. Yeah.
I think even if you're sad, even if something sad is happening, and you're present, there's peace with your sadness. I'm not saying that you're going to be happy in a moment that a loved one is diagnosed with a terminal illness, but you can have peace with it. It's the way here. That's one of the first things that Buddha said when he came out from under the Bodhi tree was, look, you're going to get old, you're going to get sick, you're going to die. Don't worry about it. All component things deteriorate. So that's just the nature of this of experience. So in other words, if I, gave you an ice cube, right? And and I said, this is your ice cube now, and you have it, you get to keep it, right? And you put the ice cube in your hand, and the ice cube starts melting away. Are you upset? No, right? Why? Because you knew it was going to melt. Because it's the nature of ice cubes to melt. Well, I'm an ice cube. You're an ice cube. Everyone you know and love are ice cubes. Everything you think you own is ice cubes. And it's all melting. And good for that. So what? I had a friend of mine say to me one time, just because the party's over at 2 o'clock in the morning doesn't mean you don't have fun at the party. You're at the party. Might be 1:30, but and the thing is that, like, even being present to your sadness, there's such I so relish that, because it's such an expression of my humanity, that I even relish those experiences. In other words, boundless equanimity, all things being equal, right? One state is not preferred over the other. That kind of weighing is gone. We don't resist what's so. We don't resist how life is. We don't judge it. We're completely removing our ego from all of it. The language of the ego is duality. This is a good experience, I want more of this. This is a bad experience, I want less of this. The self says this is just experience. And how do you even really know what's a good experience and a bad experience? Yeah, but haven't you ever had an experience that you really didn't want to have, but it turned out to be really good for you? Could be like, the obvious one, right? You break up with somebody and you're broke, and oh my God, why did we break up? It's been terrible, right? And then, like, a year later, you're like, oh my God, thank God that happened. You know what I mean? When it was the last thing that you wanted in that moment. You know what I mean? It's the adversity and the suffering that shapes us, unfortunately. I guess you could say unfortunately, but that's just the way that it works. It's our mistakes that teach us. It's our adversity that makes us wise. The Dalai Lama says, right? It's like a guitar string. Too much tension, no music. Too little tension, no music. Too much suffering, no good. Too little suffering, no good. It moves you. It moves you in a profound way that, you wouldn't ordinarily be moved. We wouldn't be having satsang. There wouldn't be Peaceful Mind Center if there wasn't suffering. My suffering, your suffering, and suffering is just discomfort. But, I kind of see my suffering as a compass. You know what I mean by that? My suffering points me in the right direction. If I'm going in this direction and it's getting more and more painful, what is it telling me? Go the other way. Don't go that way, When you're on the path, I kind of picture it, we talk about the spiritual path as a path sometimes, right? And so the path, I picture as like this silky and like red carpet that I'm on, right? And when I start to get a little off the path, it gets a little sandy, then a little rocky, then it gets like bigger rocks, and then there's like thorn bushes over here, and like the further I get off the path, just the more painful it gets. It's pointing me. When you come into presence, all that stuff goes away. All that mind-made stuff goes away. But you have to realize that being present is not thinking about being present. Okay, I'm present now. Am I not present now? I feel like I'm present. I think I'm present. No. It's impossible for me to really describe, but you've experienced it. I don't have to. I'm sure everyone in this room has had moments in life where they came into pure presence. Is that true? Anybody not? So what did it feel like? Mhm. Compassion, love, joy, calmness, peaceful, connection. Wonderful, perfect. That is your true nature. That is the self. That, like the sun behind the clouds, gets obstructed by the mind, the conceptual mind, the ideas, the thoughts, the past, the future, obstructs that true self that we all have experienced. It's what we are. When the mind subsides and you come present into the moment, it's like the clouds parting and nature just shines through effortlessly. And in that moment, do you need life to be a certain way? Do you need anybody to be behaving a certain way? You don't need anything. You don't, like, it's just, you're just at such incredible peace with life just the way that it is. And then what happens? We think. We get sucked back up into mind, and we get sucked back up into time-based reality, past and future. And then we're back in the, There's another microphone on this side if they goes on. Oh, you got it? Okay, good. This is what I want to see. I would like, if this works, I'll give everybody their own mic,
I wanted to share with the group and with you again something that I shared with you before. I had planned for a month to go on vacation, and I kind of put so much into that mentally and spiritually and physically. Just if I didn't get away, I was going to have a nervous breakdown. I was just pulled in so many different directions, so many different things going on, so much drama around me. And my life force energy was just gone. And so I put a lot of that, And then 2 weeks ago or 10 days ago, the person who's going with me, crisis happened, and he was going to have to cancel, which meant I had to cancel because it was for 2 people. And it threw me into such turmoil, and I got pulled into so much drama, the cause of it, that I felt lost. It wasn't even my thoughts were anywhere. My thoughts were nowhere. I was in a fog. I felt like a gray shroud had covered me. I was kind of a little bit numb, but I felt anxious. I felt tired. I felt like just getting into bed and not waking up. And it was totally out of my control. And I just kept trying to let go and just be present. But it's like what Greg said, sometimes the present is so painful. And you're sad and you're this and you're struggling to just sit with it. Because it sucks and it hurts. So I cried. I just felt so helpless. And then, so this went on for a week, which is a long time for me because normally, it takes me just a day to get over something and figure it out and move on. But this was just going on forever. And I didn't know if
nice place you were going.
I might have also been hormonal. Like everything just coming at me. Yeah. And I finally decided to let go. Just let go. And I made a decision. I took back my power and made a decision that I was going to go anyway. That there was got to be a way to split up the vacation where they could cancel one and keep another.
Right.
So once I made a decision, it felt like a weight had lifted off of me. that someone else's problems weren't going to control what I do.
Mm-hmm.
And because that's what it comes down to. I feel like that it's always these external things that go on around us. It's not really us. It's things coming at us, or me, from different directions. And to just take a breath. But the point was that sometimes things happen that you don't know how to deal with. Like, it's not even your thoughts. It's just these terrible feelings.
You know how I call them, like, the psychological formations is the term that I use. It's the thoughts and the feelings form a psychological formation. So the thoughts and the feelings are part of each other, absolutely. Your brain may seem to be a blank, but there is usually some thought there that you may not be aware of, But either way, you know what I mean? Don't worry about that too much. You've heard me say often that we're different people when we're in pain, right? So what happened was this happened, something unexpected happened, right? So if we were to dissect this, which is really interesting, something unexpected happened, right? Something that our minds did not want to happen. And then our mind is in disagreement with reality.
And I threw every Satsang teaching at myself during that time. I would say to myself, all right, what is it that I want in this moment?
Right.
What is it that I'm wanting that's causing this anxiety, or needing or wanting? Can I shine the flashlight on it? Or should I flash the flashlight away and just...
Yeah.
I was trying to throw all my Satsang and all of my learnings in my life, at it. And then I just said, forget it. Let me just not do anything. Let me just let go.
Yeah.
And take a break. And I shared with you, I believe in divine guidance, divine timing, signposts that are shown to you when you just let go. And that's what happened. And also things that are out of our control. I thought about constant change, things that are constantly changing. I heard your voice in my head.
Yeah.
But sometimes you're just sad. Sometimes and you don't know what to do.
You know what to do? Is to just be present to it. Don't resist it. When you're sad, nothing's wrong. Sadness is a part of being human. That's part of the deal. This is a world of duality. If you didn't have sadness, you wouldn't know what happiness is. It wouldn't make sense to you. It's the yin and yang of life. And so, when whatever arises, for whatever reason, we don't resist it. We just stay present to it. And you'll find that you have peace with it, that you have peace with your humanity, that you are a human being, that we have wiring that goes back hundreds of thousands of years. This is evolutionary wiring. There are things that are going on that are not going to make sense to you. They don't need to make sense. You don't need to make sense of them. You're human. That's all the sense that you need to make of it. You don't make any sense. You're human. You're crazy. I mean that lovingly. We're all crazy. And if you get that, we're all crazy, then the world looks much different. We're all crazy. You know what I mean? But in a loving way. And what I mean by crazy is that we just really don't understand ourselves. And what's really crazy about us is that we create stories in our minds about ourselves and the world, and we live like they're real. And that's crazy. And then we're standing in front of reality, shouting at reality, telling reality how it should be. And reality is like, I don't really care what you think. And it's very egocentric. It's very, I'm the center of the universe. I always laughingly say that when they actually find the center of the universe, there's going to be a lot of disappointed people, because it's how is this affecting me? How is this affecting me? Me, I'm upset. What about me? What about me? What about the 90,000 other things that are affected by that? We don't ever think that way. Like the world does not revolve around you. You are a part of the world. You are part of this magnificent mandala that is karmically connected, and everything affects everything. Kind of like that, what do they call it, like the butterfly effect? You know, a butterfly flaps its wings in Arizona, and there's a tsunami or something, or what do they call them, cyclone in Japan or something, and this is a really, you're just. So when I say that life is living me, again, very profound. You think you have control? You don't have any control. Are you nuts? You don't have any control. Look back at your life. You don't need me to tell that. Look back on your life. Are you where you thought you would be right now in life? Of course not. But that's okay. Because what you control, and this is what I really want you to focus on, is how you react. It's your internal state that makes a situation either desirable or undesirable. It's only that. That's the only part of the equation that you have any say in. So being focused on anything else is ridiculous. Not that you can't problem solve and work your way through it and make decisions. You just don't want to always choose from a clear place, not an emotional place. And then life really starts to be fun. When you really surrender to life, when you just surrender to reality, and you just say, oh, this is my reality, and you make no judgment of it, and you say, okay, how am I going to enjoy this reality? It's a different, but it's all your mind. I forget who said this, but that the mind can make a heaven of hell or a hell of heaven, and thinking makes it so. Maxwell or somebody like that said that. The mind can make a heaven of hell or a hell of heaven. But it's your mind. It's only your mind. It is only your mind. And when you know that, then you start to realize what's important in life. Understanding, training, and transcending your mind. Coming into consciousness, coming into presence. Consciously present. If you're having some uncomfortable feelings, you just be conscious to them. That's what's there. You're human. That's going to happen. Just like the weather. Just blows in, blows out. We're affected by so many things. We're affected by the barometric pressure. We're affected by how much light we have every day. Who knows? Some people say when Mercury's over here instead of being over here, then that's going to screw you all up. I don't know. Full moon, right? You ever hear that? People go crazy to full moon. Police will always tell you, yeah, the full moon. They're like, nobody wants to be on duty during the full moon. So a lot of times you don't even know why you're whacked out. You just know you're whacked out. That's all you need to know. What more do you need to know? All right, I'm having a difficult day. When I'm having a difficult day, I say, okay, I'm going to do the minimum. I'm just going to get by. I'm going to do what I can to take care of myself. And I am very gentle with myself. Tomorrow's another day. How many times you have a really difficult day and you wake up the next morning and it's gone? You're like, I don't know. I don't feel that way anymore. What changed? I don't know. These states come and go. And they will continue to come and go. And that's okay. You're human. This is what it is to be human. This is just what it is to be human. And when you stay conscious to your humanness and stay present in the moment and you just allow whatever to be, even if it's uncomfortable, the dials start getting dialed down. They start going from a 9 or a 10 to a 1 or a 2. Mike? Yeah, go ahead. This is an important comment. Go ahead.
When you're feeling bad, that's the hardest part, is to sit with it. It's scary. Even if it means you're crying or you're vulnerable.
Yeah.
you want it to go away. You don't want to feel that way. So all I did was tell myself, I was saying it out loud, this is going to pass. This isn't permanent.
Right. Good. Very
You
good.
know, it's only temporary.
Yeah.
And then I put on a movie and, just read a book and
Yeah.
just tried to take my mind off it.
Yeah. Yeah. You just try to. You're like, okay, I'm at a difficult point right now. Let me just do something easy. You know what I mean? Watch a funny movie or something, and just, you just kind of get through it, right? But when you said, when you're feeling that pain, it's really hard to be present to that pain. See, our instinct is to run from pain. And people run to drugs, alcohol, relationships. I'm telling you, when I say this is so important for people to understand, is that most people are motivated by pain. They're moving away from their pain. They're not moving toward what they love. Pain is really motivating. And you don't want that shit. You want that off it. As soon as you start feeling that emotional pain, you're like, get it off me, get it off me, get it off me, get it off me. I don't want to feel this. I don't want to feel this. And this is what you fear the most in life. You fear feeling like that. Something terrible happens. What you don't want is how it makes you feel inside, how it appears to make you feel inside. It's really you making you feel that way. Pain, as soon as I start talking about pain, always a hush comes over the crowd and everybody sits up. Because everybody's in pain and everybody wants to know, how do I get rid of this pain? You don't get rid of it. You stay present to it. You make friends with it. You change your relationship with your pain. You're human. You're going to feel pain. But when you do, just put your arm around it. Say, okay, buddy, we're going to watch Big Bang Theory now, me and my pain. And that's it. And what you find is that when you stop resisting the pain goes away. And when you come into the present moment, this is the most important part of dealing with pain, is that when you come into the present moment, you can turn it off like a light switch. And I'm not kidding, I've done it. Can't do it every time. I think the code word is Jägermeister.
Yeah. I asked only because recently.
Here, the microphone, please.
And it's my other part why how I sought out to come here is recently I am feeling feelings that I've never had before. Like, I'm Clark Kent, mild-mannered reporter, always, even-tempered. And I guess it must be that how old I am, but I've been having things with anger, and I've never had anger before. And that's the code word I'm trying to catch myself in, because something will happen, and it's valid for me to feel angry. But I'm not that kind of person. I usually will just go, it's just that person being stupid, or it's just the situation, whatever, But lately I can't do that. And I could eliminate a family member without thinking about it. So I want to try to catch myself before I eliminate a family member. And then I hate myself and I hate that feeling. And I never felt it before. And I'm trying to really, really be conscious and present and catch myself. Like, I know what week it is. I keep myself away in a cave, maybe. How do you... I came home to 3 things. My kids left water bottles that should have been put away and things that I would get angry for, but I'll go crazy. So the reaction, how do you, you know,
So you're saying
I'm
is that
aware
you're-
of it, but how do you stop your reaction?
Well, you're noticing that you're reacting disproportionately, right? And you're reacting in a way that you don't want to react. Okay. One of the things that I really love to say that Rinpoche used to say to us all the time is let it come and let it go. Okay? It's okay that anger arises. It's not okay that it takes over your mind and you act from it. I'm an Italian guy from New Jersey. Okay? I know a little bit about anger. And, yeah, yeah. And, and well, I think that the first thing that you have to do is recognize that it's anger. There was a time in my life where I just felt like I was defending myself. I just felt like I was standing up for myself, right? I didn't recognize that I was friggin' angry, And it's a terrible, terrible energy to be around. I grew up with, angry parents, and and that's why I didn't really recognize it, because it was kind of normal for me. Until, I started to realize that, wait a minute, this is anger. This is not, I'm angry. Like, I don't want, the minute that I started to get conscious to anger arising in me and what that felt like, I was able to kind of just consciously let it go, like a hot coal. Why? Because anger, I was suffering my own anger. When I get angry, I'm the one that suffers. And so I just drop it like a hot coal. I mean, I literally, when I feel that come up in me, I just let it come and let it go. I just show it right to the door. And I do that by just coming into presence, breathing, and allowing that reaction to pass through me. Very, very consciously. The other thing is that anger is really a code word for fear. And so if there are some vasana, some belief, some deep identification with a thought somewhere around some fear, how old are your kids? They're adults. They're adults.
That's why I was angry.
Right.
They used my brand new leased car to move without asking me while I was out of town.
Right.
When I got home, they used our water packs, hiking packs.
Yeah.
And left them on the floor without drying them out. And there was a third thing, and it was like as soon as the first thing, the second thing, as soon as I saw the third thing, I almost like I went in my bedroom and I closed the door and I
Yeah. I mean, hey, listen, it's okay. Like, you don't have to be, like, nobody here is judging you, okay? And I'm sure that everybody has their,
blew up my kid's phone, and
right?
my daughter later said to me, if you would have just, I said I was hurt. She said, gosh, you didn't act hurt. If you acted hurt, I would have felt bad. She's like, but you attacked me.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Well,
And that's not me.
yeah.
I was surprised at everyone too.
Yeah. I mean, it seems to me that some things somehow are trying to work their way to the surface. Yeah. Well, there always is.
The little things.
Right. Yeah, and perhaps, you're one that never got angry, and so you bottle it up, and it's like a spring, and now the spring's going boing, and you know what I mean? And so, just because, there's a difference between just expressing anger, letting energy flow through you, being very conscious of it, and just kind of stuffing it, And there may be some fears too, that they're like adult kids, so there could be some empty nest thing going on, or it could be like I'll be 52 in August, and yeah, so there's some weird, like it's weirdness, you know what I mean? Like it's a really weird life change. Yeah, it's a really strange life change, and it's there's lots of things, and I mentor students one-on-one. Maybe we should talk about that if you're open to it. I mean, just it could be useful to you. Yeah, plus, the hormones, but, you've always had hormones. At times they're worse. I mean, and I really, I've worked with women with hormonal issues and things like that, and I've seen how very, very difficult it can be. And my heart goes out to women because life is hard enough, you know what I mean, without having your cycle come up and just throw you into a tailspin, just chemically. And now you're trying, to keep your feet on the ground, and chemically your body is going crazy. It makes it that much more difficult, which is why you have to step up your practice. Perhaps particularly around that time of the month, you have to step up your practice. The way that when I say practice, the way that you eat, the way that you exercise, the way that you rest, you need to know this is going to be a difficult time for me. I think it might just be wise to minimize your exposure to things that might trigger you. But though perhaps it presents an opportunity, for you to step more strongly into your practice. Because the thing that people are really, really bad at is practice. They just don't practice. No matter how much I beat the drum, no matter how hard I try, people don't get that you have to sit in meditation. If you want to train your mind, you got to sit every day in meditation. Not for hours, but people really struggle with being consistently training their mind. And it is the biggest mistake that people make. That's why, new website, we're going to develop an app. So hopefully there'll be some form of an app on your phone, that you can use to help you be stronger in your practice on a regular, consistent basis. I always say to students, there's nothing special about me. It's just that my practice is way better than your practice. Use the mic, please. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Care that people always wanted the physical therapist to stay with them,
Mm-hmm.
even though they were doing the exact same thing with the therapist that they were doing on their own.
Mm-hmm.
But the therapist being there, they feel more committed to it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I was going to say. Yeah, we need like a schedule if you could work on that.
Well,
that I can like click and say I did it.
yeah, well, yeah, I mean that I do hold people accountable. Like if you want to text me, you know what I mean, you want to make a commitment and you want to text me, there'll have to be something like that perhaps in the app. The app is a little ways off, but there's also, have you seen the Zen cards, the Zen list thing yet? Oh, you haven't seen those? Yeah. I've reduced your practice to one side of one business card. And the funniest thing is, nobody can do it. It's like, we tried, not this past March, the March before, do you remember that? It's like, okay, in March, everybody's going to do their Zen list every day for all of March. 10 days, everybody was out. Nobody could do it. Well, yeah, you make it your own list, but even when it was your own list, people couldn't do it. I'm telling you, this is the problem. This is the problem. The problem, because look, spirituality to me is not a lot of hokum. I'm not into any unfalsifiable things or anything like that. I have no use for that, okay? Spirituality to me is cause and effect, all right? Now, clearly, we're getting some effects that we don't want to experience. Well, what's causal in that? That's what I want to know, And if I want to be peaceful and I want to be joyful, what's causal in that? And that's what I want to focus on. And that's what's on that Zen list. What's on that Zen list is everything that creates the causes and conditions for your mind to be peaceful. Okay? And then you got to do them every day. That's where I lose everybody. I got to do something? I just wanted to come here and get fixed and go home. But the fun thing is that once you start to realize what's causal in your in staying present, being peaceful, being joyful, you know what I mean, just allowing your natural state to be, now you can practice focusing on those causes and you start to feel better, right? That's very motivating because that's all you want. When you develop a good practice, that pain that we're talking about, you feel less and less and less and less. And that is motivating, But it's it's not the exciting stuff. It's not the sexy stuff. You know, it's like make your bed, keep your house clean, exercise, eat right. It's all of these things that quite honestly feel really good, but they're just not exciting. You know? Think about it this way. You got up, you made your bed, your house is clean, you exercised, right? You meditated. You had healthy breakfast, right? Healthy lunch. You had a vegetable juice, right? Then you had healthy supper. Your laundry is done. Your dishes is done. Your bills are paid, and what do you think you're going to feel like that day? I'm yeah, yeah. I'm Commander Obvious. You know? And this is the difficulty. And people will come sit with me and I'll say, you know, a lot of times, you know, particularly with a student that's been with me for a while. They're like, oh, man, my mind is coming off the rails and somebody did this and I'm just flipping out at work. And I'm like, okay, well, how you eating? Oh, I'm eating like crap. You know, have you exercised? Not in a long time, Tom. You know, I'm like, well, what about meditating? I just can't, you know, it's like, you know, hey, well, are you hydrated? No. And so, you know, I like to start with the very, like people are looking past the simple answers for complicated answers when simple answers will more than suffice. Yeah, or, you know, a magic pill, really lazy and you know, people want to, you know, there's a conditioning that happens with that, you know, people always want to tell you something wrong with you and you need this pill because there's something wrong with you. Medication and and our modern medical practices have a place. It's usually for trauma. You know what I mean? You know, but you know, my my path really started, you know, with diet and exercise, and I became a personal trainer. You know, so I realized early on that when I was exercising and eating right, I was a different person. You know, and I would have people come to me and I would say, well, how do you eat? Well, I usually skip breakfast, you know, and then I'll go get some pizza and a soda or something for lunch, and then I'll just grab something fast on the way home, and I'm on Paxil. And I'm like, of course you are. If I ate like that, I'd be on Prozac, right? Wasn't that on Prozac? I'd be on Prozac too. I mean, people just expect their minds to function no matter what garbage they throw in it. Like, you would never pour a soda into your plant, but you're drinking it. Kind of silly when you think about it that way, right? Alcohol? You never like pour some scotch on your plant, you're going to be dead. But your brain, like, my brain's resilient. Scotch, whoo. Crazy what we're doing. In your head is the most subtle, complex object in the universe. And you're pouring scotch in it? And it's and how you perceive life is filtered through this thing? What are you doing? Think about it. Why are you not feeding this thing everything that it wants? Why are you not like totally fertilizing and gardening this mind as beautifully as you possibly can? Because there aren't really cognitive solutions to chemical problems. You're doing things like that and you're throwing your chemistry off, you're just making life way harder than it needs to be. Way harder. I had a student say to me one time, because I was really harping on her about food, and she said, you know, I can't believe your relationship to food. She's like, I just can't believe how you so covet food and how important food is to you. I said, look at me. Everything that you see here is something that I ate at one point. That food is what I am. It doesn't go through me, it becomes me. What could be more important than what I put into my body? That becomes me. It's a big part of the reason that I can be so present all the time, because I'm mostly not fighting my chemistry. Even when I'm having a difficult day, like, I'm still human. I still feel the human emotions, you know? Don't think that. Like, I don't ever want you to think that I don't feel the same things that you feel, because you're setting an impossible standard for yourself that doesn't exist. It's just that my relationship to feeling that way is so different. When I feel that way, it's not a problem for me. I'm the one observing the state of this mind-body. And I say, this mind-body not doing so well today. I need to have a little more TLC. Let me make myself a juice, you know? Let me make myself a healthy meal. Let me go for a bike ride. Let me go get some sun or jump in the ocean. And I encourage you to have a list of things that you do when you're feeling off. It could be something as simple as just taking a shower. That straightens me out every time. How do you feel every time you step out of the shower? Yeah, clean inside and outside, right? And you step out of the shower and you change your state. Sometimes, I mean, I easily take 2-3 showers a day, easy. And for a guy, it's a little easier. We just, it's like glorified washing our face. But, but it puts me in such a good place. Simple, simple, simple things. Simple. I love simple. I love simple so much. But you need to write it down, and you need to have like contingencies, because when you're in that painful place, it affects the way that you think. And you're going to be in this pain, and you just want this pain off of you. You're not going to be thinking, maybe I should take a shower. It's not going to be in your head. But you really got to work to maintain yourself, and that's what nobody wants to do. And I don't understand it. When I say maintain yourself, maintain your mind in a pristine place. Your mind is your world. When you're upset, it's not your world. The world is just happening outside you. You have to understand that. It's karmically unfolding, meaning that all things are affecting all things. And karma is so complicated that us mere mortals can never view it clearly. I mean, if you think about what it took to have this moment exactly the way that it is right now, with us here in this room and the way that this room is, there are literally millions of people involved in this moment. Millions. And people who invented the carpet, people who got the materials together for the carpet, all the materials in the in there and in here. Where was it mined? Where was it? Where did it come from? You know what I mean? There's parts. The whole world is represented here. Who made this shirt? Who designed this shirt? Who made the label? Who sewed it together? Who cleaned it? Who like when you start to think about karma, it's vast. And so as we shed our egos and we're realizing ourselves as more of a thread in a tapestry, we're starting to see things more clearly as they are. And we're starting to understand that you are riding this wave called life, and the wave is taking you, just like surfing a wave. You can negotiate a little bit on the wave, but the wave's taking you that way. That's okay. Let life live you. You don't fight with life. You don't be affected by life. You allow things to be as they are. The problem starts to come when life is this way and your mind's saying it should be that way. Now you have a problem. And it doesn't mean that you're a doormat. It doesn't mean that you don't have healthy boundaries. It's not like that. It's just that life is what it is. And one of my most favorite quotes is from when a student was speaking with Maharaji, and Maharaji they were talking about suffering, and the student said to Maharaji, well, if I were to be honest with you, I'm constantly experiencing suffering. And Maharaji looked at him and he said, are you experiencing suffering, or are you suffering your experiencing? How would you experience suffering? Is there some pot of suffering that you can go drink out of? Are you experiencing suffering? Or are you suffering what you're experiencing? No. You can only create suffering in the face of what you're experiencing. Are you experiencing suffering, or are you suffering what you're experiencing? Are you experiencing suffering, or are you suffering what you're experiencing? You know the answer, but your ego's going to want to argue with that for a while. Kind of feel silly, don't you? I hope that you're sitting there asking yourself right now, why am I suffering what I'm experiencing? Whose idea was that? What happened with your kids happened. You suffered it. You suffered what you experienced. It didn't have to be that way. But some things happened, some cascading in your mind, some, you know what I mean? Like things got out of control inside you, and you just kind of came off the leash. Yeah. No, don't shoot on yourself. Yeah, good. Yes. Yeah, and there's really something juicy about finding fault with something. Notice that in your mind, making somebody wrong, like, wow. It's so juicy, so seductive to. Yeah. You know, this is all part of our crazy human wiring. You know? It's really, you know, I always tell the story of, hey, what's up, Bretsky? Good to see you, buddy. I always tell the story of, you know, they were doing this like candid camera thing, and they set up a little, you know, like gum store, 5 and dime, where they were just not giving anybody any change. So people would come in and they would buy something and they say, well, we don't give change. So, and then people getting big arguments with them and all this other stuff. And this one guy walked in and he had like a soda or something, and he gave him $10 and they said, okay, thank you. And he looked at him and they said, yeah, we don't give change here. He said, okay, that's cool, man. And he walked out the door. And they were like, they went chasing him down the street with the camera, like, what are you doing? And he's like, hey, I'm not selling my piece for $10. He's like, I'm never coming back to your store, but, you know? And he was just like, he just was like, it's cool. You know, and it's funny, like, when you become conscious of this, you don't react. All the effort that I put into the website, all the effort I put into getting it to place in the search engines, you know what I mean? Someone clicks on it, they go to a Cialis commercial, right? I just say, okay. I hope people get a good laugh about that, you know? The spiritually virile Peaceful Mind Center. But I typically, when things happen, my heart does not even beat fast for one beat. I'm so centered and grounded in the moment and allowing life to unfold around me. And I understand that I get what I get in life. You know, I can have my intentions. I can plant the tomato seeds if I want tomatoes to grow, but either they're going to grow or they're going to not grow. There's a lot of other things out of my control, you know, that need to happen in order for that to happen. So I just put it out there to the universe, and I appreciate my life as it is. And I wake up every morning and I go to sleep every night, and my first words are, thank you, thank you, thank you so much for giving me another day, for giving me this breath. And thank you for this day when I'm going to sleep. I so appreciate it. I have an awesome life. Thank you so much. Even when it was a really crappy day, I say that. And I'm happy for the crappy day. You know? And I mean that so entirely, you know, sincerely. Like, I don't mean like I'm pretending to be happy. You know, I was just so happy for the experience, regardless of what the experience is. Like, there's no experience that I shun. It's just all experience. Even if it's a painful or sad experience, I relish the sadness. I relish the experiences. I don't want to have them every day, you know what I mean? You know, but all of this, you know, the happiness and the sadness are equally fascinating. Just as an expression of my humanness, whatever it is to be human. Do you ever stop and think about what you are? 2 to 3 trillion cells, right? That are somehow working together to give you this experience. And most of what's going on here you don't even know anything about. If you cut it, it puts itself back together. You know, you eat food, right? So you masticate, you chew. And you grind up whatever you're eating and you drop it into a vat of acid. It gets broken down and it goes through lots of, you know, yards of tubes where your body just taking out what it needs. And it's saying, okay, this is a tooth, right, this is an eye, right, this is a hair, okay, this is a fingernail. What? It is crazy. And if we have the same blood type, you need a kidney, here, take mine. I got an extra one. I mean, there's so much more that we don't know compared to what we do know. You know, a biologist will tell you you're 70% water. A physicist will tell you you're 99.9% space. Just energy. Radio wave, go right through that wall. You and I can't. I mean, it's like, what are you worried about? This whole thing is a bizarre nut job thing. It's just crazy. What we're here to do in satsang is to not learn how to not suffer it. to learn how to not create suffering for yourself. Because the only way that you can suffer is when you create it for yourself. And the way that you create it for yourself is through your own ignorance of your own humanness. But when you see it clearly, that's why they say enlightenment, seeing things clearly as they are. When you see it clearly, there's nothing to sweat. Even death. What is death? Death of an experience? Death of this body? But that which is aware of it? I love Mark Twain. Mark Twain said, I've been dead for about 1 billion years before this, and it didn't bother me one bit. All you have is this moment. And for most people, it's the one place that they never are. The moment is the only thing that matters. Only thing. The rest is just stories in your head. And annoying stories a lot of the time. Troublemaking stories. Things that rob your peace. Instead of loving life the way that it is, we get angry for the way that it's not. Where's the wisdom in that? So I encourage you always, to think about these satsangs, to really use me, to come here and ask questions. You all are so stoic when you come. And it's foolishness, okay? We're all human. We all got problems. We all did stupid stuff. Don't be afraid to talk about it. Because that's another difference between me and a lot of people. I can't shut up about it. And I'm very open about my life because I wanted to know what was going on because none of it made any damn sense to me. And my life is an open book. I don't hide anything. Why? Why? I'm just human. And I made mistakes. And they were very important mistakes because they shaped me. They made me wise. But I'm here to help you understand. And I'm here to answer your questions. And I know you got 1 million questions. Because there are 1 million questions about this. You got to ask them. Don't be afraid to ask them. Because the difficulty is that what I'm teaching you here is how to be out of your mind. And you're going to want to keep using your mind to understand what I'm trying to say, which is going to keep pulling you back into your mind, which I'm trying to pull you out of. So inevitably, you know what I mean? We've got to develop that. You've got to develop that separation between you, the awareness, and the mind, the thoughts that you are aware of. You've got to develop that separation. You've really got to get comfortable being without thoughts. Because what you're suffering in life ultimately is your thoughts, which is absurd, right? But when you're identified as the thoughts are you can't get away from them. Okay? When you begin to realize I'm the one observing, that I'm the one guiding the attention, that I'm the one that's just aware of all things outside me and aware of all things inside me in the same exact way, now all of a sudden there's somewhere else to be. What we know as human beings is thinking. We started thinking back so far that we can't even remember, and it never stopped. Thinking is not required to be human. And it's the thoughts that create the problems. Greg?
Yeah, my question is actually specifically meditation practice. Is this on?
Yes.
Okay, good. Because, that's a new commitment of mine to get into a regular practice of, and, I've got a couple of different things that I've done, but I remember last week you were talking about a, book for beginners, if you will.
Yeah.
And, maybe we could start with, do you recommend the same meditation technique, every day, or do you do something different every day, or?
We have a YouTube channel, and there's one 10-minute meditation on there that I snipped out of the front of a satsang that I liked. Okay, so you can start with that one. I want you to really not overcomplicate it, because what your mind is going to do is say, okay, how do I meditate? What's the right way to meditate, and all this other stuff. All of these satsangs are on. There's about 5 or 6 of them now that I've got to upload onto the YouTube channel. I'm going to do that this week. All of them, though, are always recorded from here right on the Facebook page. The second that we're done, they're there. So you can always go back and review these. You can comment and ask questions there. I'll do my best to answer them. But you can really sink your teeth into your studies here and really go back and pick through this. Also, some of the meditations that we do, all of the meditations, you can fast forward to the end of satsang and go right to that meditation. And you can do that on your phone with the earbuds in, or do it on your computer. But I'm going to be coming up with more tools, for that. But if I were to describe it in the most simple way, okay, it's really important. It is like, I hear a lot of guided meditations where they're just talking through the whole meditation. And I'm just like, okay, when do I get a chance to meditate? And they're like, do this, do that, do this, do that. You're in the woods, you're up in the sky, you're on the moon. I'm like, what are you doing to me? That's not meditation. That might be a good relaxation technique or something for you. Meditation is silent, okay? And what you want to do is first sit in a comfortable position and be typically in a place that is conducive to meditation. Like if you have an extra room in your house that you can set up as a meditation room, you know what I mean? Have a sacred space for yourself. Like here, this may be one of the good things for kids moving out, right? You got your own meditation room. There's a big juxtaposition, right? Like the space here at the Duncan Center is so beautiful. We get into such deep meditations here. The beach, we get into deep meditations. So you want to kind of stack the deck in your favor. You want to be in the places where you can be the most still. For me, it's always nature. Murakami, Japanese gardens, beautiful place to meditate. Okay? Inside the gardens themselves, or even in the woods outside, there's paths and there's places that you can go just sit in the woods and meditate. So you sit comfortably because you want to be comfortable. I don't have it here. There's these cushions, and then there's the other one I have, you see at the beach, that's kind of U-shaped, and that's called a cosmic cushion, and it's very comfortable. And they come in different sizes so that you can be higher, okay? So typically, the higher your hips are and the lower your knees are, the more comfortable it is. So for me to sit like this is not as comfortable. If I was on my cushion, my knees would be, below my hips. And that puts my lower back in good position, and I can sit in, 7-point posture, which maybe I'll bring that, we'll go over that next week. And because I can't describe it to you off the top of my head, or I would explain it now. And you sit in a very comfortable position, spine erect. I'm not leaning back on the chair. I'm not laying down. I'm in a very alert position, because meditation is a very high state of alertness. I want you 150% here and nowhere else very alert. Okay? That's why I don't like the meditations where they're taking you off in the woods or taking you into outer space or things like that, because I want you here and they're taking you away. I don't want to do that. Okay? So for our purposes, that's not what we do here. Okay? We get very present into the moment. So you're sitting comfortably, right? And you close your eyes. There's something called Insight Timer. Are you familiar with Insight Timer? Do you have that? Insight Timer is an app for the phone, and it has a gong that sounds a lot like this. They have different bells that you can use, but you can just set the timer up, and it will gong like this off your phone, and then it will, you can say, I have 3 minutes. You can do it for 3 minutes. You can do it for 20 minutes. You can set a little gong for halfway through, however you want it. But it's a really nice timer, Insight Timer. And so you set the timer for 10 minutes, you sit. And the first thing that you do is you begin breathing more and more slowly, and you just relax and breathe slowly and relax your body. Let the tension out of your body, okay? You'll notice when you start looking for the tension in your body that you'll feel like your muscles are tight. Like, wow, why are my leg muscles clenched up like that? Why am I, like, go through your body and the muscles in your face, around your eyes. I'll guide you through one of these in a few moments, okay? And let yourself relax. Once you've relaxed, all right, you bring the attention to the breath. The breath, we're always breathing in the moment, okay? So when you bring your attention to breath, you're anchoring yourself in the moment, okay? Also, you don't have any opinion about breath. This isn't a good breath or a bad breath. Or, oh man, that breath sucked. I need to do it better. It's not like that, right? So breath is very neutral and in the moment, and you can just rest your attention there, okay? And it will hold you in the moment. It'll hold, when I say hold you in the moment, hold your attention in the moment, okay? And now you're just breathing. And you are very, very alert as to where you are. The sounds, the smells, the tastes, right? And what you'll notice is that your attention wanders off to a thought here, wanders off to a thought there, right? When it wanders off, you just say, come back. And it wanders off again, come back. And it wanders off again, come back. And pretty soon it starts staying a little bit. Stay for a few seconds, ooh. And you feel some peace. And that's what you're practicing, holding your attention here, just breathing, being in the moment, not thinking about the moment. Okay? Now, something that you have to realize, and this is very important, okay, that our attention always seems to need to be somewhere, all right? And so if our attention is not on thoughts, where is it? Well, you'll notice in your mind that the thoughts rise in this vast space of silence. That the gap between thoughts is just this gap of silence. Now, in the same way that if you see like a picture of the solar system, you see the planets and the moons. But typically the space doesn't register to you. You know what I mean? It's just nothing, right? Space. It's the same way in your mind. There's this vast space of silence, and that thoughts are popping up in. But you've never noticed the silence before. I want you to become more interested in the silence and completely uninterested in the thoughts. And just dwell with your attention, resting peacefully in the silence, just being aware of what's happening around you without thinking about it. That's your meditation practice, calm abiding meditation. And so that's going to be in a book, and it's going to be in a short course, so that beginners can really understand what that means. That's the most important thing you'll do here, and you should do it every day. And so we're going to do this tonight, so this will be recorded and on there. Maybe I'll peel it off and put it on a YouTube channel so that you guys can pick it up anytime you want. But it's, we're just so expertly trained on not being where we are that we're just really good at it. And now we're at the cutting edge of this human evolution where we're saying, wait a minute, I'm up in my head, I'm in the future, I'm in the past, I'm not in the present moment. The next step in human evolution is to come into presence in the present moment. To really realize the illusion of time is just a myth.